Welcome to Break Forth Fully Alive.
We are Elsa and Arlen Salty, your hosts and the directors and founders of Break Forth Ministries.
We can all use a little inspiration in our day, and that's why Break Forth Fully Alive is here for you.
After 4 decades of holding events throughout the world, we're pulling together some of the best messages and classes from these events.
But before we get into today's show, we want to invite you to head over to our website at breakforthministries.com, where you'll learn more about our tours to the lands of the Bible, our resources, inspiring videos, workshops, our events, and more.
Now, let's get started.
Bill and Pam Farrel are relationship experts, international speakers, and directors of Lovewise. Their wit and wisdom have made them popular speakers on radio and TV guests across North America. They've written over 40 books, including best-selling Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti, and the 10 Best Decisions series. Make those differences work for you in your relationships. Based on their best-selling book, the Farrels share humorous and biblical principles that really work to enhance love, marriage, and family.
Usually at this point, people are starting to think, okay, Bill and Pam, we get this. Like we look around the room, some of us in the room are obviously male. Some of you in the room are obviously female. Like, we get that. But what we have discovered is that most people don't know what to do with these differences. So we went looking for a word picture that would help men and women know how to work with these differences between men and women. And of course, the word picture we came up with is that men are like waffles.
And women are like spaghetti.
So let me start with the men. If you were to diagram the way a typical man operates in life, it looks like the top of a waffle. There's a bunch of boxes, and all those boxes are separated from one another by walls. And the way we as men operate is the first issue in life goes in the first box, the second issue goes in the second box, the third issue goes in the third box, and so on. And we as men, we spend time in one box at a time and one box only. So when a man is at work, he is at work. When a man's out in the yard doing yard work, he is in the yard doing yard work. When a man is watching TV, he's watching TV. We do one thing at a time and one thing only. Now, as men mature, we do jump boxes faster than we used to. So at times we kind of imitate multitasking, but in reality, we're just jumping from one box to another faster than we used to. And because of this single focus that us men bring to life, we are problem solvers by nature. The way that we like to operate is we go into a box, figure out what the problem is, assign a solution to it, and then we move on. And if we get to a box and we see what the problem is and we don't know what the solution is, we just move on. Because we cannot possibly think of a reason to spend time on a problem that we don't have an answer for, so we just move on. And for part of your life, folks, like this single focus that men bring to life is really valuable. Like your family needs that single focus that us men bring to life. The workplace needs that single focus. The church and the community all need that single focus that us men tend to bring to life. But it creates some significant tension in your most important relationships because you ladies, you just don't process like a waffle.
Right. Social scientists have said for a long time, men compartmentalize and women integrate, but nobody talks like that. And so if you look at the way our minds work as women, it looks like one plate of spaghetti and you follow a noodle around that plate, it looks like it touches pretty much every other noodle on the plate. And that's the way we women process life, is we travel through life making emotional connections to the people and things that matter most to us. And so by nature, we are awesome at multitasking. We can be on the phone with a friend and her life's all falling apart and we're watching Oprah and there's Dr. Phil and he's saying, how's that working for you? So we're like, how's that working for you, honey? Yeah, you should come to Break Forth. There's like some good encouragement there. At the same time, we're writing in our Christmas card list and our grocery list and our to-do list for our husband and our 6 kids. As we're telling the kids in sign language to quit fighting. Can't you see I'm on the phone? We have a load in the washer, a load in the dryer. We're cooking dinner and we can open and shut the oven door with our foot, right, girls? Awesome. It's a gift to the family, to the church, to the community, that whole multitasking or toggle tasking, as it's called today, switching from thing to thing to thing seamlessly.
And ladies, we really admire this about you, but it does create some confusing moments, especially in the area of communication. Because when you come home and you have conversations with us that sound like this, it's confusing. Like, honey, how's your truck running? I thought about your truck today because I drove by your favorite truck store because I was on my way to go buy a new outfit because I found this outfit that I knew was going to look really good on me because it was my color. Because last year we learned all about what colors look good on you and what colors don't look good on you. And I found this outfit that was in my color palette. It's kind of a pastel blue color. And I knew I was going to look really good in it. And that's always a good thing because when I know I look good, my confidence level is higher. And when my confidence level is up, I think clearer. When I think clear, I make better decisions, and that makes me easier to live with. And besides, it was the same color that the Queen wore on her birthday last year. Do you remember seeing that on TV? She had that blue outfit. I thought that's really funny. Me and the Queen, we have like kind of the same color palette. I think that's kind of funny, but you probably don't really care about that, right? But I know you like sports, right? So do you remember the Winter Olympics? Do you remember the German team? They had those really good looking outfits with the blue trim on them. And I thought, wow, I'd look really good in that German outfit too. And the last race of the games, you remember those three ladies were going around the ice and they were taking turns leading, and at the very end, that one lady fell down. She just like slid across the finish line. I thought it was so sad. She just fell down at the end, and it reminded me that a lot of our friends have been falling down in their life. And do you think we could just take a moment and pray for our friends right now? Now, ladies, when you have conversations with us that sound like that, we are frantically jumping boxes, trying to figure out where this conversation is going. And while you think we're praying for the friends, what we're really thinking is, so what about my truck? Because we figured you brought it up for a reason. We can't figure out what it is. And ladies, there are a couple of other things you need to know about men if you're going to communicate well with us. The first is that some of the boxes on our waffle, there's thoughts rolling around inside, but they don't translate into sentences. So sometimes men just make noises. We go, woo, yeah, woo, wah. That's why two men passing each other will go, hey. Because see, that's a significant bonding moment for two men right there. Like we made eye contact and everything. It was awesome. And the other thing you have to factor in is that a few of the boxes on every man's waffle, they actually look like this right here. There are no thoughts and there are no words. And we as men, we park in these blank boxes. I'm sure you've seen it before. And we don't know how you do it, ladies, but you just have some kind of radar. Because every time we get in these blank boxes, you ask the dreaded question.
So, hey, what you thinking?
Which is a really hard question for us because we tried telling you the truth. We said nothing. And your response is, well, you can't be thinking nothing. You have to be thinking something. So what is it? And ladies, I'm here to tell you that every man I've ever met has the ability to think absolutely nothing. Am I right, guys? Yeah. So since the truth doesn't work, the next time you ask the question, there's a delay that takes place. And our eyes start darting back and forth because we're looking for a box somewhere nearby that has words in it. So that we can answer your question, and then you misinterpret the delay. And you think, oh, you don't want to share what you're really thinking, so now you're making something up. No, we were probably just thinking nothing. And on a little bit of a humorous note, what happens over time, actually it's actually a serious note, what happens over time in a typical marriage is guys start to feel inadequate when it comes to communication. Because no kidding, ladies, we drop into these blank boxes right in the middle of conversations. You'll be going along. So what do you think? About what? And then we get in trouble with you and we start to conclude, wow, we're not very good at this. And men don't like to spend time doing what they're not good at. And so we stop working on this communication area, go do things we are good at, and we don't develop to our potential in this arena. But if you ladies take a little different approach, if you start to say, wow, okay, so it's all of them. It's not just my husband, my son, my dad. It's all of them. It must be part of God's design. And you just make room in the relationship for these. We will pass through the blank box and start talking again when we get on the other side. When you start to accept that as part of normal interaction, we start to change our opinion about you. And we start to think things like, most of the women I've ever met, they don't get it. But this one, she gets it. And if we ever reach that conclusion about you, we find you easy to spend time with, and we're convinced we can succeed with you in our lives.
Men are like waffles, women like spaghetti. In our book, we talk about 10 differences and how to gain unity and make those differences work for you in your relationship. We'll hit a few of them to this afternoon.
And we've noticed that there is an assumption that couples live with that's not really true. The assumption is all of our conversations are going to work for both of us at the same time. And the reason why we tend to have that conclusion is that is kind of how it works in dating. Like when you're dating, you kind of go to a whole new level and you work really hard to impress one another. And so you have lots and lots of conversations that are good for both of you at the same time. In a long-term relationship, it's different. And let me illustrate with our relationship kind of how it is normally in a long-term relationship. There are some conversations in our home that I've noticed, Pam, are really good for you. When we're done with those conversations, she is ready for action. Things are clarified, and it's just been a great experience for her. There's other conversations in our home that work really well for me. And when we're done with those conversations, I've got clarity and I'm ready for action. And then there's some conversations that work for both of us at the same time. That's normal in long-term relationships. So one of the most important relationship skills we can develop in our relationships is learn to take turns when it comes to communication.
Because men and women, we relate or communicate differently.
Mm-hmm. So guys, when it's your wife's turn to talk, and this would also apply to your daughter, your mom, close friends that are females, when it's her turn to talk, and you'll know it's her turn because she starts the conversation, first thing you want to do is turn off that fix-it mechanism you were born with. Remember I told you we're all problem solvers? So when your wife comes to you and says, honey, we need to talk, you react just like I do. You're like, bring it on. Because you're going to size up the problem. You're going to apply your male solution to it. You're going to be her hero for the day and all's going to be right in the world. Okay, all that fix-it stuff, guys, turn it off. Pack up your bags and go on a listening journey with her and let her take the conversation anywhere she wants it to go. Now, I get a lot of reactions from men when I share this. First reaction I tend to get is, Bill, you do not understand what you are saying. Because if I give her permission to talk like that, she will never stop talking. Now, it's not true. You might not have seen it recently, but she will finish and you'll know she's done because she will say something like, and she might even say something to you that sounds like,
oh, you understand me like nobody else.
Now, I happen to know that's not true, but I really like this look right here, so I just go with it. Right? Second reaction I get from men all the time is, Bill, what is the point? Like we started off talking about vacation and somehow her mom got into the conversation and her mom's got a sister named Karen and Karen's got a 17-year-old daughter and we have a 17-year-old daughter and she's got a good friend named Karen and Karen's not really a really good influence on our daughter and we don't know how much time they should be spending together and should we have her over to our house? And we're like, what is the point of that conversation? And for those of you men in the room who need to know what the point is to help her finish. That's it. Just help her finish.
But not by saying, cut to the chase. What's the bottom line here? Bullet points, cliff notes, please. Those kind of comments will not help you husbands get sex tonight. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Now, there is a reason, guys, why we ask you to do this. We're not just asking you to do something difficult for you. The reason why this is important is the way God wired women is if a woman thinks you are important, she has an internal drive to connect her life to you because it's one of the primary ways that women build trust in relationships. That when a woman can get enough of her life connected to you, it's like there's a switch that turns on and you become a trustworthy person in her life. And if you're patient with this, you'll actually see it happen. That as you're talking, there'll be this little transformation moment where she kind of goes, whoa, I'd kind of forgotten that in the press of our life, but you're a pretty good looking guy, look at you. Wow. And then your voice gets really smooth in her ears and all the dumb things you used to say suddenly turn into wisdom. And the reason why that happens is that trust has been reestablished. And we as men, we get impatient with the process because it's not how we build trust with one another. And if you want to keep trust high in your relationship, you want to give her the opportunity to keep connecting her life to you, because the more of her life she gets connected to you, the more trustworthy she sees you and the more willing she is to be vulnerable and open with you. Well, the third reaction I get from men is, okay, Bill, I get that, but that is just too hard. And as men, we do legitimately struggle with this because, again, it's not how we as men tend to operate. Like, sir, what's your first name? Right here in the block. What's your first name? Brett. It's good to meet you, Brett. Now, it's not likely I'm going to walk up to you anytime today and say, Brett, I want to hear all about your week. Like, I want to hear everything that you did, what you're afraid of, and how you felt and all that. Right? Yeah, we're not going there, right? Yeah, like Brett's like, he's got his arms, he's like, we are not going. Now, I might say, Brett, did you have a good week? Sure, he's doing great. You're right from his mouth, right there. Okay, like, it's just not how guys operate. And so when we get in a relationship with a female, suddenly we develop trust very differently in that relationship. And so, guys, to help you with your motivation, imagine that everything you love in life ends early. Imagine every time you watch a sporting event, 5 minutes before it's over, TV goes off, you never know the final score. Every time you sit down to eat a meal, halfway through, the meal gets cleared off the table. You never get to finish the meal. Every project you start, whether at home or at work, 3/4 of the way through, you have to abandon the project and never get it finished. And for those of you guys who are married, every romantic sexual encounter with your wife ends early. Now, if you can feel the tension of all that, you'll start to feel the tension she senses when she can't finish conversations with you. So guys, when it's her turn to talk, just turn off that fix-it mechanism, pack up your bags, go on a listening journey with her, and be amazed as she falls in love with you over and over again.
So if the gift that guys give is to pack up their listening bags and go on a journey with us, what's the gift that we women can give to the guys in our world? We can give the gift of staying in the box. We women have more words per day than the average male, so we can basically just out-talk them. And because of that, sometimes we sell men short just because they don't respond to life like we do. Like this cartoon that I saw, and there was a niece, and she came up to her uncle, and she is just like, oh, uncle, everything you did just totally changed my life. And he took out a business card and he handed it to her. He's like, you can take this down to the petroleum store. They'll give you 10% off of your gasoline. And the wife saw the whole interaction and she's like, okay, our niece was pouring out her heart and you handed her a business card. Have you no feelings? And he said, I have feelings. I was afraid she was going to hug me. I was scared it was going to go on. And I was happy when it was over. I have feelings. Guys really do have feelings. I raised 3 sons, and one of those sons on homecoming game, his senior year, starting quarterback, they lost the game. But the next night, they went to the homecoming dance, and the girl he was dating left in the middle of the dance with another guy and didn't say where she was going and took the car keys to Brock's car with her. Yeah, he had some feelings about that, right? Men really do have feelings. They're just slower to reveal themselves to us. And so the number one thing that I get asked is, how do I get my husband, my son, my dad, the male that's significant in my life to open up to me? And one woman put it this way. She's like, she was engaged, and she said, I really think that my fiance is such a good moral guy, and he is so good looking, and he is such a great leader, but I'm kind of afraid. And I'm like, why are you afraid? And she said, well, I think something's wrong with him, like it's broken. I think in university they called it emotionally shallow. And I just started to smile because she just hadn't found the key to unlocking her man's heart. And that is, guys like to live in, dwell in, camp out in boxes they feel super successful in, and totally avoid boxes they don't feel successful in. So I said, tell me about your fiance, because I'm looking for the box he feels comfortable or successful in. She's like, He's a race car driver. I said, there you go, baby girl, you just get yourself into the garage. And when you're in the garage, just repeat back key phrases that he's saying to keep him talking. She's like, all right. So she goes into the garage and he's, working on the race car. So he's torquing this and he's tweaking that. And he's talking about rods and pistons and flywheels. And she's dutifully repeating back these car parts. Doesn't have a clue what she's really talking about, but she's repeating back those car parts. All of a sudden, he comes out from underneath the car. He puts his hand on the hood of the car and he says, wow, nobody has ever taken the time to care about my world like this. Nobody ever has loved me like you love me. I'm so excited to build us a big 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a balcony out back and a wraparound porch. And I'll put up a swing set for the kids that we'll have one day. And I'll put up a swing. And every day when I come home from work, I'll stop by Tim Hortons and bring you a skinny vanilla latte. And I'll just wrap my arms around you, girl. We'll sit on that swing. We'll watch the sunset as I listen to your heart. She told me later, I never want to leave the garage again. Because she found the key to unlock her man's heart. Find the box he feels comfortable in, park yourself in it, and become a great listener. What we women do too oftentimes, when a guy brings up a subject to talk about, he actually thinks it's that subject you're going to talk about. But we women, because our minds are like spaghetti, we see the 5 or 6 other boxes that are surrounding that first box, and we just start opening up boxes or opening up issues. Now, the problem with that is men are problem solvers. So if there's 1 box open, that's 1 problem to solve. 2 boxes open, 2 problems to solve. 3 boxes open, 3 problems to solve, and so on. And every male has a limit on how many boxes he can have open at the same time. And if we get too many boxes going, girls, we are going to know it, because he's going to do one of 2 things. He's either going to fire up and become angry, and we're like, what? I was just talking. Or he's just going to shut down that box and try to escape to one of his favorite box, and you're chasing with your words like nobody's needs are getting met there. So the best gift that we can give, because guys are slower to reveal themselves, the sweetest part of who a guy is going to be in his favorite box. And it's just like syrup. It's going to go down to the bottom. So if we can just repeat back key phrases, stay in his favorite box, he will unpack the very sweetest part of who he is, and we will be able to love him in a way he can receive love.
And what we've been talking with you folks about is the practical way of living out this verse in our relationships. Romans 15:7 says, accept one another then, just as Christ accepted you, in order to bring praise to God. And I think you know how this works. When you live close to people, it's really easy to see your differences as if they are flaws. And when you take time to try to change one another rather than accept the way that God made us. Now, again, we believe every one of us in the room need to grow and we need to develop, and there's areas that need growth in our life, but that doesn't mean everything is supposed to change. And when you try to change areas that God didn't design to be changed, it's like taking spaghetti sauce and putting it on waffles and taking maple syrup and putting it on spaghetti. And there's always one guy in the room that says, hey, that might be pretty good. But most of us realize right away, it just doesn't work that way. And when you have this attitude of, I'm going to accept the fact that God made you the way he did, a couple of things happen. First of all your relationships will start to work better, because anytime you cooperate with the way God made life, it works better. And the second thing that happened is the praise of God actually settles in on your relationship. And you begin to have a relationship that's better than what you could develop on your own, because you have this active partnership with God in the midst of it that gives you love and grace and strength that you don't have on your own. And because these gender differences, like the difference between men and women, it's very important that we have this attitude of acceptance in those areas, because again, as you look around the room, you can see that we're male and female. Those differences actually go below the skin.
XX, XY. It's science.
Like there are physical differences that you cannot see that profoundly impact the way you process information in life and interact with one another. For instance, I don't know if you knew, but when a man solves a problem, he uses one side of his brain. And he stays on that side of his brain. It might be the right side or the left side, but whatever side we start on, we stay on that side till the problem's been solved. You ladies, when you focus on that same problem, you use both sides of your brain at the same time. The reason for that is all of you ladies in the room have more physical connections between the two sides of your brain than us men do. And when us men were in the womb, there was a testosterone bath that took place. It severed some of the connections between the two sides of the brain and sent a signal out for other connections not to develop. Now, usually at this point, there's some female in the room that wants to blurt out, "See, I knew they were handicapped." I just want to point out that as men, we figured out how to simplify the process. Because studies do show that men and women solve problems equally well. We just do it differently, and men do it in a simpler fashion. And do you want to do another one? Never mind. Our favorite physical difference that impacts. Did you want to do the maze thing? So our favorite physical difference that affects relationships is right here. When a man eats, the part of his brain that makes him happier gets stimulated. So a man literally is happier with himself, happier with life, and more content right after he's eaten a meal. At the same time, when you ladies share that meal, the part of your brain that sharpens your eyesight becomes stimulated. You become more aware of your environment and have more to talk about. So this is a reason why so many good relationship memories are built around food. And families that eat together really do have better relationships.
And how many of you women, maybe your mom or your grandmother said the way to a man's heart is through his stomach? Anybody hear that? Yeah, there's actually science behind that now. You know that this is a great study to know about, because if you borrow your husband's car and you wreck it, now you know you should probably feed him his favorite meal first and then tell him about the car.
And now that we've introduced some of these differences, we want to show you a video clip that shows how this might play out in a typical home. The question was, are all these rooms going to be painted pink or just this one here? That's what he agreed to without realizing. So, Pam?
And so it pays to be a good listener. And we know that one of the ways to bridge these differences is to become a great listener, because the Bible talks about the priority of listening.
So James 1:19 says, "My dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry."
There's 4 simple steps to becoming a great listener. And the first one is that repeat key phrases that I just mentioned about the girl in the garage. But you can try it. You can go over to the bookstore, and as you're just chatting with people, you can say, "How you doing?" And they're probably going to say, "Fine," because that's what we're trained to do. But instead of saying, "Yeah, me too," and just walking away, stop and repeat. "Oh, you're feeling fine? Well, actually, I'm kind of tired." "Oh, you're kind of tired? Yeah, I have little kids at home, and one of my babies is teething, and we're up 2 or 3 times a night, and all these companies in the oil industry are like downsizing, and so I'm doing like 10 people's jobs right now, so I'm really exhausted, and I have teenagers too, and they're staying out late at night, and I'm worried about them because I remember what I was like when I was a teenager, so I'm trying to have faith and pray, but exhausted." And you have repeated 2 words. They just rolled out their whole life story. So it's actually very effective to just repeat key phrases. But you might feel a little bit like a robot if all you ever do is repeat key phrases. So the second thing you want to do is rephrase and say, "What I hear you saying is, and put the conversation in your own words. And then regroup and give them a chance to clarify by saying, am I tracking with you? Am I even in the ballpark of what you're trying to communicate? And give them a chance to clarify. And the more volatile, the more sensitive a topic is, the more important it is that you do steps 2 and 3.
And right here at step 3, we all have a tendency to kind of hijack conversations right here. But like most of us in life are impatient listeners. We listen to like the first 60% of what the other person has to say. And then we spend the last 40% loading up our response, hoping they will stop talking so that we can add in our wisdom and insight. And it's usually right here that we kind of hijack the process. So I have a little exercise for you to do just to remind you not to do that. Okay, so if you could free your hands for just a moment.
Put them straight out.
And put your hands out in front of you about shoulder width apart. And with your imagination, I'd like you to picture the phrase in between your hands, I understand.
I understand.
Okay, if you got it? Now I'd like you to mentally drop kick that out of your relationships as far as you can. Because men, the day that you will understand your wife is the day you have your first menstrual period. Up until that day, you can be fascinated with her. You can discover new things about her. You can learn about her, but you won't understand her. And we tend to use that phrase to just hijack conversations and stop listening. And so next time you're tempted to say, I understand, instead say, really, tell me more.
The fourth and most important is reconnect. The person you love is going to be sharing a story, and somewhere in their story is an emotion. And so what you want to ask yourself is, have I ever felt like that? The circumstances might be very different, but ask yourself if you've ever felt the same way, because what you're trying to do is match emotion to emotion or heart to heart and gain a connection.
Now, don't get discouraged at this point right here. Most of the time when you say, okay, is it like this? And then you share a story from your life and talk about how it affected you, most of the time the other person will look at you and say, no, it's not really like that. But don't get discouraged, because this kind of communication right here, it's a lot like baseball. In baseball, somebody who misses the ball 2/3 of the time, we call him a great hitter. And all you need right here is about a 10% success rate that will develop a connection between you that's so strong, nothing in life can get between you.
It's like super glue.
And Pam and I discovered the importance of this in our life one day. I came home from work and I said, Pam, I've been thinking, and I just really believe you're too busy right now.
And I have a choice. I can repeat a key phrase or I can react. That day, I chose to repeat key phrases. So you think that I'm too busy? Well,
it's not just that you're too busy. It's that our life's kind of overwhelming right now.
Oh, you're feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, like especially at work. For some reason, I'm feeling like I might fail there.
Oh, you feel like you might fail?
Yeah. Do you remember I told you growing up, my mom used a lot of reverse psychology because she was afraid, and she told me I don't have what it takes. I'm never going to be anything. And it's like she's back in my office, like up in the corner, just talking away. And I don't understand why her voice won't go away.
Wow. I am so sorry that's happening. Is it like a little bit like, okay, remember that time I told you that my dad had been drinking and I was like in grade 7 and I showed him my report card and it said 100%, 100%, 100%, 99.9. And my dad said, Pam, why isn't that 100? Does it feel like that?
Well, do you feel like even if it had been 100, you would have found something wrong with it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because nothing's going wrong at work, and I don't understand why I keep fearing that this might happen.
Oh, let me pray.
That was a very real day for Pam and I when we recognized that part of our connection to each other is our common faith in Jesus. But part of our connection to each other is we recognize some of the pain we grew up around, and we believe that together we could do better. But this conversation could have looked a whole lot different if it had been more like Pam, you're too busy.
Remember, I have a choice. I can repeat phrases or I can react. What if I would have reacted? You think that I'm too busy? You think that I'm too busy? Maybe it's because I'm like doing everything around this house. I'm doing the dishes. I'm doing the laundry. I'm making all the dinners. I'm like working at your church. I'm writing these books. Maybe if you would take out the trash, I wouldn't be so busy. It's a joke. It's okay. You can laugh.
So can you imagine the argument we could have had over that conversation right there? We could have been in intense fellowship for a good week or so over that one talk. And the amazing thing about it, folks, is it's the exact same conversation.
The choice is always yours. The choice is always ours. Conflict or connection. And when you use these simple listening skills, you gain the connection that you are looking for. And we have a quick little homework assignment, because even if you use these listening skills, there'll be moments when you just miss each other in conversation. You're like, why is this not working? Like, have you ever started talking and then you start arguing and then you're like, I don't even know what started this. Anybody ever have that happen? Oh, there's more than 3 of us, I can guarantee. Yeah. And so the reason that's happening is the thing you love most about your spouse is becoming a source of irritation. You need a way to turn that coin over and remember, oh yeah, that's why I love them.
So an example of this, one of the things I love about Pam is she's a very creative individual. Like, I've had way more fun in my life because I'm married to her than I would have ever had on my own. But because of that creativity, like she's always producing ideas, and those ideas tend to be pretty large. And it was a big problem for us early in marriage because I thought she processed ideas the same way I do. Like, when I'm processing an idea, I'm thinking about it. If I'm wondering, should we implement it? I then share it with Pam to get her feedback so we can make a decision. I thought Pam was doing the same thing. I didn't realize she shares ideas simply because she has them. So we would have this nice evening together. Pam would think, oh, I have Bill's attention. I'm going to start sharing my ideas. So she would share the first big idea. And I think, whoa, okay, big idea on the table. But you know what? I love her and I trust her and she walks with Jesus. So yeah, it'll be a little bit of a challenge, but we can work this into our life and could be a great adventure. And then she'd share the second idea, like, whoa, okay, 2 big ideas on the table. But you know what? We're high energy people. And again, I trust her, so we can make this work. It will eat up any free time or free money we have, but I'm game. We can make this. And then she'd share the third idea. And I would think, how in the world does she think we can do all 3 of these ideas? Like, the first 2 really were gonna eat up more money than we have, but I was willing to go along with it because I love this woman, but now she's just talking. And then she'd share the 4th idea. And I would think, this woman's crazy. Like, there was no way we could even get the first 2 ideas done. Now she got 4 ideas on the table and she's just talking away like it's gonna go nobody. And then she would share the 5th idea. And I would think, this woman is out of her mind. And I would feel a need to shut down the conversation before she ruined our life. And so a lot of our really nice evenings, that first 10 years of marriage, ended with this strange tension between the 2 of us. And after 10 years, I realized she hadn't acted on most of those ideas. So I went to her one day and I said, Pam, are all these ideas you share with me important?
Of course, they're my ideas.
Okay, that's the wrong question. What I really want to know is, do I have to do something with every idea you bring up?
Of course not. I don't even do anything with most of my ideas.
Okay, so if you share an idea that I don't want to act on, can I say to you, Pam, that is a great idea?
That's a great idea, hon.
And that phrase, it's a great idea, became a password in our relationship that saved the emotional environment of our love for each other. Because it gave me a way to say, Pam, I love the fact that you're creative. Like, that is really attractive about you. But this idea you're sharing right now, it is dead in the water.
And I can even start a conversation with, hey, I've got a great idea, which basically means sit back. I'm just going to download my files. And your password is probably already in your relationship. You just need a way to find it. And Bill likes to quote his favorite theologian.
That would be Rocky Balboa. If you saw the movie, you know, Rocky was dating Adrian. Paulie is Adrian's brother, concerned about the relationship. So he went to Rocky one day and he said, hey, what are you doing with my sister? And Rocky's response was something like, I got gaps, she got gaps, together we fill gaps. Which is pretty good relationship advice, folks, because all of us in the room have
Gaps.
And God puts us in relationship with other people to help fill gaps. So he's a little bit smarter than he sounds.
And so the Rocky movie was a good memory in our life. But you have to know something about me as a newlywed. I was a little bit of a drama queen because I'm the daughter of an alcoholic. Okay, big old drama queen, owned a tiara drama queen. And Bill would say something and would hurt my feelings. And I'd be like, oh, you don't love me anymore. And I would run to our room and slam the door and throw myself across the bed, look back to see if he had followed me.
Any of you guys get training on what you're supposed to do at moments like this?
Yeah, one guy in Florida said, run, Forrest, run.
Like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do, so I'm just totally guessing. I don't know if I'm supposed to follow her into the bedroom and reassure her that I still love her and I didn't mean whatever she thinks I said, or should I sit in the living room and outlast this behavior? I have no idea. So my best guess is to follow her, tell her, Pam, I love you, and whatever you think I said, I didn't mean it the way you took it because I love you and I'm fascinated with you. And you know those times in your marriage where you don't really know what was wrong, so you don't really know if you solved anything, but things seem to be better? Like, we spent a lot of our first year doing that, and this kind of repeated itself a number of times until one night.
My brother came over and he was eating dinner with us, and somewhere in dinner, Bill hurt my feelings, and I'm like, you don't love me anymore, run to a room, slam the door, throw myself across the bed, look back. But not Bill, but my brother walked in the room applauding. He took a trophy off the wall. Now for Best Actress, we have Pam Farrel.
And I thought, this is really funny, but we are in so much trouble.
But instead of getting mad, I started laughing. I'm like, oh, my brother so knows me. I totally can't pull this with him around. I just started laughing. And Bill's like, humor helps. I do a good memory. Humor helps.
So you remember when Rocky was trying to get Adrian's attention? She was working in a pet store. And he would come to the pet store every day with the same dumb joke. Yo, Adrian, you know what you get when you tap a turtle on the back? You get shell shock. Get it? Shell shock.
So the next time, Bill hurt my feelings. You don't love me anymore. Run to our room, slam the door, throw myself across the bed, look back. In walks Bill.
Yo, Pam, you know what you get when you tap a turtle on the back? You get shell shock. Get it?
It's like a really bad imitation. It's like a stupid joke. Totally still works to this day. We can be in a heated argument and either of us can go, yo, or start tapping the turtle. And that password, it helps us like in any situation. During the tech issues, you probably didn't see it, but Bill's just tapping the turtle. It'll be okay, Pam. And, if you're at a party and you want to leave, but you can't use words, just tap the turtle. Yeah, the password is just a really great way to regroup. But the most important thing about a password is you probably should agree upon the password. For example, suck it up and get over it is probably not going to be very effective as a password. Or like this one guy tried.
This one guy said, Bill, you think this one will work? Listen to me!
Yeah, probably not so much. A couple examples of great passwords is men are like waffles and like spaghetti has taken the tension out of a lot of marriages. So let go of my ego has been used as a password. It can be a line from a movie. It can be an inside joke. One of our friends, they were headed for divorce court. I mean, they were just in conflict, but they swung by Bill's office and he shared this concept with them. And they both liked the whole Roadrunner Coyote cartoon. And he's a very strong CFO Wall Street guy. And she's this delicate little artist of a flower. And so he mowed her down like all the time emotionally. But they liked the whole Roadrunner cartoon. And so beep, beep worked for them as a password because it basically meant back off, buddy. And so it helped them regroup with a little bit of humor. Our favorite has to be probably this newlywed couple. They're like, oh, we have a password. And then we said, what is it? They said, well, in our most pathetic voice, in the middle of any argument, we just hold hands and we say,
you're my best friend.
So that's your dinner time assignment. Is the best way to find a password is to just share happy memories in your relationship? What were days that made you laugh or smile? What's that inside joke that you might already have in your relationship? I'm going to have Bill pray, because men are like waffles and like spaghetti, but viva the differences.
Father, thank you so much for your creative plan. Thank you for making us male and female. Give us the wisdom to enjoy the differences, and may the next generation benefit from the love we share with each other. In Jesus' name, amen.
God bless you.
Bless you all.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Break Forth Fully Alive podcast. We pray you were richly blessed.
But before we leave you, we want to remind you again to head over to our website at breakforthministries.com, where you'll learn more about our tours to the lands of the Bible, our resources, inspiring videos, workshops, our online and in-person events, and more.
Until next time, may you become fully alive in the love of God.